Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Sedalia and Jai Show. I am your host, Sedalia and Jai. I'm super excited to have you guys here with me this evening. Thank you for all of you that are joining. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick disclaimer that this is a talk show, standard talk show platform. So it's a little bit unconventional for those of you who are newcomers. It's a little different from what you may be used to seeing on your IG lives. I'm going to forewarn you. And what that basically means is that I see your comments. I encourage your comments. Please leave them. I will type as I can to respond to your comments, but I will not be acknowledging your comments out loud or be shouting out people like we normally see happen during the lives. Again, this is a structured platform, and we have a special guest, and we want to give the stage to our special guests to allow them to tell us, about themselves, about their work, and focus on the topic at hand. Doesn't mean I don't love you. Don't get sensitive. I love you, okay? I just can't acknowledge you at this moment, but I see you, and I will comment when I can. So again, you are watching the Sedalia and Jai Show. Our special guest for this evening is R.K. Jackson. He is not only a marketing and branding designer, but he's also a history enthusiast. What does that mean? One of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met, literally, okay? Tonight, R.K. is going to be talking to us. I'd say we're going to have a real exclusive. He's going to be talking to us about not only his branding and marketing career, but he's also going to tell us a bit about, or rather give us a firsthand account of Atlanta's rich history, what's going on in Atlanta in terms of COVID, police brutality, police reform, and the consequent protests. So I think you guys are in for a treat. I know. I say this every time. Oh my God. Every time I'm like, it's going to be a great show. Well, guess what? Every single show is a great show. Thank you very much. But before we get into that, before we bring our special guest in, he is in the house. Can you guys put some claps in for Mr. R.K. Jackson, please? I would love to see some claps for those of you who are joining us. Yes, thank you, Gloria. Let's get some claps. This is the only time I'm going to be acknowledging you out loud, so you better get those claps in right now. Amazing. So before we bring in our special guest who is in the building, thank you for joining us, RK. I do want to do something that I do on the show very regularly. Not every show, but a lot of shows, and you already know what that is. Guess what, guys? We're about to do our checkup from the neck up. You guys know what it is. Checkup from the neck up. This is an opportunity for us to take some time out to check in on our mental health and our mental well-being. You guys know how I feel about that. I'm a huge advocate for mental health. And today, we haven't done it in a while. We did it the first few episodes, but we've been so busy and bombarded with incredible content. Not bombarded, not in a bad way, but in a great way. So I want to take some time out for us to do our self-assessment, check up from the neck up before we bring in our special guest. And again, this self-assessment I'm going to share with you guys today. We're just going to take a few minutes, like 3 minutes. Go be real quick, do our thing real quick. It is not my own self-assessment. I do shop around and look for different self-assessments from very reputable mental health organizations and or psychology websites. So know that these are coming from healthcare professionals, but they are not my own. I do want to put that as a disclaimer. Okay, so today, there are 4 aspects that I want us to talk about, but I'm only going to touch on one today, and then you're going to have to come in and tune in next week for the second, and the week after that for the third, and the week after that for the fourth. Hello. It's a process. Self-care and positive mental health being in a positive mental state is a process. So we are going to do it in increments like a process. So for today, I want us to talk about psychological self-care. Okay, your mind. What's going on with you? So I'm going to just read out a couple of statements, and I want you to rate these statements from a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. So 1 being the lowest is, it never occurred to me. 2, never. What? Never. I know it, but I don't do it. I don't care. 3, rarely. I try to, but I can't always get around to it. 4, occasionally, which is a little better than rarely, believe it or not, meaning I try to implement it when I can, but I am aware and I am conscious of it. And then we have 5, which is frequently, meaning that you do it regularly, you do it often, you do it almost all the time. Okay, so 1 to 5. Everyone clear? If you're good and you're ready for the mental health assessment, give me a thumbs up. Thank you for all the newcomers joining in. Our special guest tonight is Mr. R.K. Jackson in the building. And we're doing a self-assessment real quick. So give me a thumbs up, guys. If you are here with me and you're following me, you can hear me loud and clear and you're excited and ready for this self-assessment. Thank you. I'm not moving forward till I get these thumbs up. Y'all don't know me. I will stay here all day and not say nothing. Okay? This is a mutual relationship. I need interaction, okay? We're doing this digital thing, but I still need to feel you. I still need to feel you. Very good. Amazing. I see a few of you with the thumbs up. There's some of you, there's a lot more of you tuned in here. I'm not seeing your thumbs up. Don't be distracted. Let me see those thumbs up. Whatever you're doing in the kitchen or in the office or on your computer, stop it. I'm here. Focus. Very good. All right, let's start. Psychological self-care on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. Very good. I make time for self-reflection. I make time for self-reflection. 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, never occurred to me. What? No, what? Of course not. I never even thought about it. Or 5 being frequently. I do it all the time. I absolutely do. Next. I have my own personal psychotherapy. I have my own personal psychotherapy. Or I have my own psychological assessment. Meaning I'm trying to think about why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. What can I do to improve the way that I'm feeling? This can be something that you consciously ask yourself, or you can experience it through journaling. Okay? Oh. I beat it to the punch, guys. Darn it, that was the next one. I write in a journal. That was a precursor. That is our third self-assessment point on a scale of 1 to 5. Write it down, guys. This is for you. I don't need to know. You don't need to share it. This is for you. But I need you to hold yourself accountable. Go ahead and write this down. Take this seriously, because you better check in. I'm giving you a chance to check up from the neck up. All right. I'm writing in a journal. Very good. Next point. Thank you for my newcomers joining in. We're doing a self-assessment. Please join us. I read literature that is unrelated to work. I read literature that is unrelated to work. And it's literature, it sounds big, fancy, and scary, but it doesn't have to be literature. It doesn't have to be the Odyssey, on some Homer stuff. It could be just read a news article or a little magazine, whatever you like, but you're reading content that is unrelated to work. It could be a book, fiction, drama, whatever genre you love. Okay? Crime and suspense, thriller, mystery. I love it. I'm here for it. Very good. You guys, I'm reading a book right now called The Originals. I'm going off on a tangent. Let's move forward. But we have to come back to The Originals by Adam Grant. Excellent book. Maybe I need to do like a book review, a lit review on the show one day. What do you guys think about that? Okay. You guys know I get distracted. Next, I do something at which I'm not an expert in or in charge of. I do something at which I'm not an expert or in charge of. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being never thought about it, 5 being absolutely. Are you doing this? We're doing a checkup from the neck up, mental health assessment, self-assessment. Okay. Again, for those of you joining in, I have gotten this self-assessment from a reputable source. Well, several. I've combined it to make my own, but they do come from several different sources. One is several psychological associations, mental health organizations, but they are not my own. Okay. I do something at which I'm not an expert or in charge of. Okay. Next, I try and decrease the stress in my life. Okay. I let others know different aspects of me. Ooh, I like that one. I let others know different aspects of me. Scale of 1 to 5. Okay, moving forward. I notice my inner experience, meaning that I listen to my thoughts, judgments, beliefs, attitudes, and feelings. I notice my inner experience. Thoughts, judgments, beliefs, attitudes, feelings. 1 to 5. Let me know. Okay. Are we doing okay so far? For those of you in the building, if I'm going too fast or too slow, let me know what's up, all right? I'm just trying to make it, I'm just trying to give you time to jot down your ratings and think about it. If you guys are still with me, then here we go. Amazing. All right, moving forward. If you guys are still with me, I need some more. I love the hearts. Yes, keep the hearts coming. And let me get some hearts in the comments. I need more comments, guys. Y'all stressing me out right now. Very good. I notice my inner experience. My inner experience means I listen to my thoughts. I listen to my judgments. I listen to my beliefs. I listen to my attitudes. And I listen to my feelings. Okay, very good. I know that one was a little lengthy. Thank you for your comments. Hope that was better. Next, I engage my intelligence in a new area. Ooh, I engage my intelligence in a new area. What are some examples of that? Meaning I could go to, an art museum. There is an incredible exhibit happening here in Toronto. Sorry, guys, for those of you who aren't here. The Van Gogh, it's a new Van Gogh exhibit happening in the city of Toronto that is called the Immersive Van Gogh. It's like Van Gogh like we've never seen it. These two amazing directors had this exhibit, I believe called the Atelier des Lumières in Paris, that is world renowned now, super famous. And they've brought it to Toronto, except they've decided to make it, to modernize it and have how do I say it? Like a audio-visual experience. There's like lights and like visuals on the walls. You're not just walking and just observing Van Gogh's pieces. It's actually an entirely immersive experience. Sorry. There is a score developed specifically for this exhibit. A music composer and a audiovisual / film director actually created this exhibit, and I'm gonna go. I already got my tickets, honey. I'm going next weekend. I'll let you guys know about it. I might do a review on that and see if we can even get someone on the show to talk about it, but you guys should definitely check that out. That's a great way to kind of free your mind. So those of you who are not in Toronto, there are other variations of that. I'm sure there's something incredible happening in your city. We have access to so many things. Just take the initiative to step out. Sometimes we don't even feel like we want to go out or do something, but the minute we go out and do it, we feel better. We feel better already. Okay, let's move forward. What are some other ways that you can engage your intelligence in a new area? You can go to a sports event or any, like a theater performance, or some of you like auctions. Anything. We can't go to the movies anymore, but anything that stimulates you, that requires intelligence and thought outside of what you normally do. Okay. We only have 3 more, guys. Hang in there. On a scale of 1 to 5, I practice receiving from others. I practice receiving from others. On a scale of 1 to 5. I practice receiving from others. I even want to say, I want to go back and even the engaging your intelligence. I want to challenge you guys to watch content on social media that you don't normally watch. Hello. I know you have your interests, and I know that you know what you like, but sometimes if you don't try different things or give something a chance, you don't know if you like it or not. I'm hesitant to talk about social media because I think social media can be really overwhelming. And I don't think that it's a tool that needs to be overly abused. But I just wanted to say, to kind of enrich and make that experience more versatile, and enrich your social media experience so that it's not so harmful or detrimental, but rather empowering and encouraging. Change the content. Yeah, don't be looking at all those fit, big booty women. I'm sorry, I don't know. and getting upset about your body image and how you're feeling. Don't look at all these couples who are madly in love and you're like, why don't I have that? Don't look at all these travel bloggers who are supposedly living their best lives on some island even though they're getting paid to do that. I'm telling you to watch something like the Sedalia Enjai show where we do self-assessments for better health. Very good. Lastly, not last time, we have two more, okay? Practice receiving from others. We already said that. 1 to 5. The next, be curious. Are you a curious individual? Would you consider yourself a curious individual on a scale of 1 to 5? I didn't say spontaneous. I just said curious. I think curiosity is good. Curiosity did not kill the cat. It's not true. Don't listen to him. It's not true. Curiosity encouraged and served as the mustard seed. Honey, I'm dropping bars. That's that poet in me. Serves as the mustard seed for inspiration, growth, etc. Okay? Are you curious on a scale of 1 to 5? Lastly, say no to extra responsibilities. I'm sorry, I didn't say no. I'm asking you. Scale of 1 to 5. Are you saying no to extra responsibilities? Are you saying no to extra responsibilities? I don't know. Think about it. Let me know how you feel. Assess it. Be real with yourself. You ain't got to be real with me, but you got to be real with yourself, honey. Okay. Sounds amazing. Very good. Well, guys, we're done with the self-assessment. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Very good. I'm so grateful for you guys still tuned in here and joining me. If you guys thought that self-assessment was helpful, please go ahead and give me, I don't know, some smiley faces. Give me some kind of reaction. I don't, whatever you want. Hearts, smiley faces, claps, fire emojis. Let me know. Let me know if you thought that was useful or if that was helpful. Very good. We're not going to delay or dilly-dally or take any more time because I'm ready to get to the crux of this show, which is our special guest, Mr. R.K. Jackson, again, who is a branding and marketing designer as well as a history enthusiast. He's going to be talking to us, honey, tonight. And ooh-wee, we got a show for y'all. I'm excited. I'm ready. Well, let's go ahead and bring our special guest in. Okay, handsome. What you won't do is throw me off like that. What you want to do is come on. You know you love your smoldering face. Don't come on my show with the smoldering look. I can't take it.
Hello.
How are you, King?
It is a pleasure to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. Long time overdue. You're looking very well. I've known RK for a very long time. Sorry, see, I even slipped up because I've known him so long. That's one of the old besties right there. However, again, as I mentioned, one of the most knowledgeable people that I know. Hands down. I think I have about 10. I think I have a list of 10, RK. Maybe 10. Maybe 10. I don't know. I got to go back and think about it. But you are definitely one of the individuals that I think is the most knowledgeable. Every time that I speak with you, I constantly learn so much. And I like to think that I'm a little bit intelligent with humility, okay? But I'm always humbled by your presence and by our conversation. So I want to thank you for joining us this evening. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm chilling.
Yeah, you're chilling. How has COVID been for you?
Interesting. I've kind of been kind of indirectly affected by it. Haven't had a lot of direct issues with my family specifically.
Sure.
But it definitely changed a lot of how I maneuvered, around the city, obviously, with work and stuff like that as well too. But luckily, I've been able to, hold on to a lot of the projects that I've been working on, and I'm excited for the future.
Amazing. I think a lot of us have found more, well, I don't want to say a lot of us, I hate to say it like that, to be like as if I'm not sensitive to the strife that most have experienced during COVID. But I did want to say that I had a similar experience. I was indirectly affected by COVID, meaning that, on the contrary, I think that for some of us, it was really enlightening and like positive,
Yeah.
almost like a needed change a little bit, just to kind of revert back into self, to be more introspective and to redirect and reprioritize.
Right.
So that's what it's been like for me too. I've been more productive than any other. I mean, less distracted. I mean, like pure focus. Like,
Yeah.
focus. Know my goals. Ready to go. I'm here. Let's get it. You know, like that's what it's been like for me.
Yeah, you've been on it. Even with our conversations over the last month, like you have inspired me to, be way more on, what I got going on too. So. Yeah.
And you need to be. You got to get out there more, because you have so much to say. You're the sole source of knowledge that is like no one is tapping into. Don't be keeping it for yourself. Okay, we need some of it too. Okay, we want some of this knowledge, this source. Don't be greedy.
We learning, we're growing. Everybody is still, meeting their place when they can meet it. So yeah.
But I'm really honored, because this is your first IG Live, is it not?
I have never pressed that button before, so we're here.
Sedalia exclusive. Well, I'm very honored that you've taken the time to be here with us today. And we're just going to kind of jump right in. As I mentioned, everyone, Mr. RK Jackson is a branding and marketing designer. So before we get into the other meaty stuff that I know y'all want to talk about, you're doing a lot of impressive work. You've come a long way. Like I said, I've known you for a very long time. I'm very proud of you. And I just want you to tell us a little bit about how you even got into designing.
Yeah.
You've always been artistic, but what stemmed that in you? What made you want to explore that more and make it a career?
Yeah. Honestly, and this is probably a theme throughout my life. I genuinely just saw a need that I wanted to fill, and it wasn't being done the way that I wanted it to be done.
Yes.
And so I've always felt like I had a very unique voice and perspective and eye for things. My dad is an architect, and he's been working, oh my God, probably for the last 50 years. He's 72. And my mom has been working in kind of like small grassroots to Fortune 500 company marketing and sales for the most part. And so I've always kind of been around, creative people, been put around people who are aesthetically driven, if you will. And so when I got to college at CAU, the illustrious Clark-Atlanta University, I was able to kind of quickly jump into a lot of the spaces that needed to be filled in, like student government and homecoming and stuff like that, because just because of the people that I was around and people that I knew, and the people that really kind of needed that assistance. And so what I saw was a lot of our representation, being a historically Black college university, we're going to make up the majority. I just did not like the way that we were kind of portraying ourselves. And so I really wanted to just uplift and grow that aesthetic. I felt like we were missing something. I felt like a lot was missing in the way that we were being seen. So that was like the first thing that I did. I started out taking photos for people's campaigns, for like SGA president and stuff like that. And then that kind of grew into a small business on campus, where I then turned around and joined the homecoming committee. And then I joined SGA in marketing. And then from there, I started to get paid for it. So,
yes, sir.
So, it really just kind of grew from, I saw a space where I could make an impact and make a difference. And then I inserted myself, and people allowed me to be in those spaces. So, yeah.
Amazing. And I've watched that journey, like you said, starting from college, and now we're here. When did we graduate? Oh my God, we're not going to talk about this, honey. Y'all not about to know how old I am, honey. Oh no. I'm telling you though, I feel old. It's been a long time. Okay.
It's been a while, yeah.
I've seen this man grow his brand, like you said, from going to just doing work around campus to like if you can't afford my time, you can't afford my time. It's just that simple, honey. I'm so sorry. I love you,
Yeah.
but I'm the best.
Hey, you said it.
And I admire that. And so this year, the RK Jackson brand has developed and developed to the point that today, your most recent projects are with a beauty brand called AJ Crimson, as
Yeah.
well as a piece that you worked on with apartment therapy and the home and garden kind of magazine realm. And so I just want to go back to just focus a little bit on what's most recent. What concept did you come up with for the AJ Crimson beauty brand before we kind of jump back into what is it even? Because this could even help us understand what it even takes to be a good branding or marketing designer. Forgive me, we don't want to get into all your secrets, but I like my viewers that maybe are inspired. They can be inspired by you, or they want to kind of follow in those footsteps. Sometimes it's good. They just need a starting point. Sometimes people don't know where to start. RK, they don't know where to
Absolutely.
start. Yeah, so
Yeah.
talk to us first about this AJ Crimson campaign.
Yeah, so AJ Crimson Beauty has been around for celebrating 7 years this year. And it started out as AJ's kind of own passion project. He was a celebrity stylist, makeup artist, in the industry, worked on movies and music video sets and stuff like that. So he had kind of been in that space already. And so it was kind of like the easiest transition. But what I think he learned early on was there wasn't a lot of makeup that was designed for Black women and women, that are highly melanated, that
Absolutely.
didn't like cake up or have that flashback when, photos are being taken on the red carpet and stuff. So he decided to kind of specially formulate his first product, which was like an 8 color or 8 shade range foundation. And that was like so flexible that it all could be blended together into one kind of single coverage on your skin. But then also it would have one of the deepest shades that was available at the time, which is called number 8, and it's darker than both of us, but it's it's representation, and he saw that kind of need to make sure that people could have flexible products that you want to work quality and luxury, but then also Black owned as well too. So
shout out to Black owned businesses.
right. So like this go round, because we've been working together I probably started working with AJ maybe a couple years after he founded. And so I helped him launch a couple products in 2016. We've done some stuff, ever since then. But this year has been a really, really big year for us. The brand has kind of really gotten much of a wider national appeal, with the, blackout movement and people, looking to invest and buy more Black-owned products. And so we've gotten a lot of wild placements like in Forbes and Elle magazine and Allure magazine and just all of these kind of like British Vogue, like a lot of these, uh, fashion and beauty vanguard magazines have taken notice, and I think it's been really, really cool because we got a lot of stuff planned coming up. But my goal was to really take the aesthetic into the next phase, I guess, of evolution.
Right.
We had done so much in the past, and I just felt like there was really only one direction to go, and it was to really
Absolutely.
kind of expand upon that high luxury, fashion vibe of the brand.
Incredible. And I think that really translates and comes across the purpose. And that's the beauty of, or I wouldn't, not just the beauty, but the skill in branding, that I've always been fascinated by what it takes to make an image relay a very specific message,
Right.
in a subtle way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you still want it to be aesthetically pleasing,
Right.
still want it to be, I don't know, commercially acceptable, perhaps, but still it translates a mission statement.
For
That's
sure.
crazy. I know they say a picture says 1,000 words, but when you're getting into those layers, it's definitely intense.
Yeah,
So
marketing itself is just it's nonverbal communication. So
exactly, and I'm a huge, you know, you already know. You guys know I'm already all about the nonverbal communication. But that kind of leads me into my question before we even talk about your next project. That what do you think is one thing that it really takes to be a good branding and marketing designer?
wow. I'd say
Besides what I've said, you mean you need to have an eye for detail and you need to know how to non-verbally communicate.
right. No, really, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that I have learned in my time, oh God, it's a decade this year. And so it's really to have your own aesthetic and then, really bring your own specific eye to a project because what I've learned is you can replicate a lot of people's things. A brand owner or somebody can come to you and be like, "Hey, can you make something like this?" And you could do that for a coin all day. Get your bag, do what you need to do. But what I
Right.
find is that you gain that longevity and that purpose, and then the protection behind those relationships that you build when you're able to actually bring something brand new to a brand. Before this, if you ask me personally, um,
Which I am.
uh, there was a very specific aesthetic I wanted, and I don't think that if you look at past, branding and marketing, that I've even done anything like this, and so that makes me, it fulfills me to be able to continuously create new things, but then also kind of challenge myself and test where I can potentially go artistically and creatively. But you really only get that when you're able to bring something brand new to whoever's hiring you. But then also that trust that you build. A lot of my clients, we've been working together for 3 to 5 years. You know what I mean? At a time. Sometimes we will go on breaks. But I haven't changed my number in over 12 years, so they always find me. Um, and my email has been pretty much the same as well too. So when you establish that rapport, which is so important, and you bring that quality work, I believe that it always kind of shines through, and the people will continue to buy into you.
Well, you heard it from the man himself. Um, you may need to start off kind of doing what we could say generic work, or just for the sake of building. However, sorry, I thought I heard thunderstorm. Oh, it's been raining a lot in Toronto,
It,
anyways.
yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna say it might be here too. It's been
yeah.
going on.
So again, you've heard it from the man himself. You may need to start off, and that's totally okay. You may need to start off, ladies and gentlemen, on a more generic path, just to kind of build your experience and your technical skill set,
For sure.
and comfortability. But then eventually you may want to venture into making sure that you have your own brand, because then people are coming to you for your vision. They want something that's original. And RK, you are an original. And I'm reading this book, Originals by Adam Grant. If you haven't read it, I know, if I'm surprised if you haven't, but if you haven't, you would love it. You should
Okay,
read it.
I'm gonna look into that.
Life-changing bestseller. But yes, you are an original, and that's, I think, the key. I want to encourage most people to be originals.
Thank you. Yes,
That's really important. That's incredibly important. So we're going to move a little bit forward here, and delve into another recent piece that you've worked on, again with the apartment therapy site. It's a very popular and well-known site for those of you who don't know, that kind of focuses on all things home and lifestyle. And you were able to write a piece for them. I read the article, the piece rather, sorry, and saw the images, and I thought that it was just really interesting, and that's part of why we wanted to get you on the show, right?
Right.
Because that's a great segue into, you were relating, living space with systemic racism, and it was like a concept that I had not necessarily
And those comments
not
were
even not thought of, but
brutal.
didn't delve into that much, right? Like I
Yeah,
didn't know that like you could bring in politics when you're trying to tell me how to aesthetically make my apartment more zen, like
yeah.
So that was a very conscious move on your part. And that was probably the crux. That was the reason why I really wanted you here this evening. So could you tell us a little bit about that piece, that project, and what was the piece centered around, and what inspired it?
Yeah, for sure. The piece was commissioned from Apartment Therapy. They found a thread that I did on Twitter about um, really thriving historically Black communities that, well, across the country, that kind of all ended in the same exact way, whether it was white mob violence, whether it was economic divestment after white flight, whether it was just genuine systemic racism with redlining and different things like that as well too. And so that that piece kind of went viral. And so, well, that thread went viral. And so they actually reached out to me and was just like, hey, we would love to, get you to kind of extrapolate on certain things in regard to that because we're a neighborhood community periodical, if you will. And so a lot of these people
Ooh.
are looking for not only just inspiration for their homes and their apartments and their living spaces, but then also the communities that they're in as well too. So I thought that was really cool for them under their real estate piece to actually want to know more about a lot of these communities that have just endured, you know, situational, systemic, racism throughout. I
Incredible.
chose, yeah, I chose Sweet Auburn specifically just because of the rich um, history and it has in Atlanta. Not only just as a staple now, because a lot of people visit the Edgewood area for partying and stuff like that. Well, maybe not now because of COVID, but it's kind of a linchpin in Atlanta's cultural and spiritual. Um, History, if you will. And so I wanted to kind of expound on that.
So I want to take some time to talk a little bit about that, more specifically about these historic districts. Auburn being one of them, and in the West End, because I lived in Atlanta. For those of you who don't know, for quite some time. I want to say, well, Georgia for 6 years, but I lived in Atlanta for four of them. Right, the other two were where I did my master's. But in Atlanta, RK is an Atlanta native, and that's where we met, and we've been friends since then. But my experience was different because I wasn't a native, right? I kind of had this, I don't know, it was one of the best experiences I had, and I even to this day I'm in Toronto for many reasons. Can't live in the States anymore. Not gonna say this on air, but but people are like, where would you? I was like, well, if I lived in the States, I would only live in Atlanta. That's the
Yeah,
only city I would want to live in. But um, before we get into the history and the context of this article, going back to that, I just wanted to speak about how I even talk when I speak about Atlanta. I kind of like, I don't know, I put it on a pedestal.
hmm
To me, it's like the Black Mecca. That's the only reason why I would want to go back and live in Atlanta, because I had a great life and I was respected there, and I was living my best life, and I didn't even like see white people stressing me out. I forgot they existed for a moment. I was like,
yeah,
what? Like all the rich, all the wealthy and educated people here are Black. That was my reality. But I understand that as a native, sometimes we don't see the parts, all parts of an environment,
right,
right? We see what we want to see, or we see what we're exposed to.
right.
But you've been there and you've lived there your whole life. So I want to kind of skip jump. Forgive me for getting off track. I want to come back to these historic districts, but I want to just take some time out to ask you, um, what is what is your what is your what are your thoughts, sorry, rather, about this image of Atlanta being seen as a Black Mecca?
Sure. I I don't have a problem with it. It just gives me pause because, as we know, Mecca, the holiest city, right? And then you throw Black Mecca on top of that. It kind of
Mm.
feels very, um,
Sacrilegious, very blasphemous.
well, it
Well, let's
feels
keep it 100.
well. It doesn't feel fallible, And for a city that has been through so much, with systemic racism, with segregation, with um, just the change of power between white mayoralship in the 70s to having over 45 years of black mayors. So much has changed, but I feel like the connotation of the Black Mecca kind of came from a position of
Yeah, this
like
holy grail for Black people.
right. I kind of feel like it came, and I guess I'll have to expound on that too. But I kind of feel like it came from um, marketing and depravity at the same time, if that makes sense.
Huh.
Um,
Ooh, okay.
we we
See what I tell y'all? Knowledgeable. Y'all sit in, get ready. Here it comes. Y'all get in, dropping gems. Let's go.
um yeah, no, I mean I feel like on the positive side of it, right? Uh, there has
It's done wonders for the economy.
right. There's really been no, I think, place in the Southeast that has been able to survive and be as black for as long and be prosperous as well too.
That's right.
Um, I think the vibe is that we've had to overcome so much, and so that is why we are this spiritual space for culture and economy and music. The civil rights, the voting rights petitions that happened between the 30s and the 40s to get more black voters in the city of Atlanta registered to vote, to get them to be able to actually participate in political elections, because we understood even at that time, in the 40s, this is post um, uh, this is post Reconstruction era, this is post Great Depression, you know what I mean? So these are, black people who literally have no inherited wealth, that are literally trying to make moves in these spaces that were predominantly white for so long. And so at the time, and then kind of progressing forward, you saw a heavy community around voting, and heavy community around just protection of one another. You know what I mean? Um, because of the kind of turn of violence and how easy it was to do that, and how
Sure.
segregation was legal and stuff like that. And so I don't want to dismiss that per se,
Yeah, because
but
it's come a long way. But
yeah,
yeah. But there's
um,
still work to be done.
for sure. Oh, absolutely. I really do feel like the Atlanta people see is it, let me break it down for you.
Break it down, honey. Let them know. We want
Okay.
to know.
Okay.
You're here
So
to break it down. This is the time now. You have all the time in the world. Break it down.
okay, I past all of the, let's just skip ahead, right? So past all of the legal, discrimination, right? Specifically in this instance, as far as Atlanta as a whole, right? We got our first black mayor in, I think it was 74. It's Maynard Jackson. He actually was the grandson of John Wesley Dobbs, who actually helped found Sweet Auburn. Um,
Okay.
Sweet Auburn was literally created because of mob violence. They literally burned down most of the prominent black businesses in the downtown area. And they had to actually move a couple miles away to this little 2-mile city block, which they kind of affectionately titled Sweet Auburn Avenue. But moving forward again, the main thing I think in that mid to late 70s time, Atlanta really needed, with their first black mayor, Atlanta really needed really good press and a facelift. And so Atlanta, mind you, there was hardly any public transportation infrastructure at that time. That was like one of the biggest things was that, the Housing Rights Act, the Housing Rights Act, and then the Federal Highway Act in the 50s and the 60s helped drive suburban people in and out of the city. But there was really nothing for those predominantly Black constituents inside of the city to be able to now try to take advantage of these new jobs that were happening in the city and around the city. So they're walking miles to get places, you know what I mean? And I think that, again, with having that first Black mayor as well, too, in Atlanta, you have a really difficult responsibility, you know what I mean? Um, and I feel like a lot of the city never really got a chance to recover outside of all of the discriminatory practices that happened between the 50s and the 70s. And because you are the first Black mayor of Atlanta, you've got to press, economic renewal and economic revival and, try to create this space for business and big business. And one of the first things that Maynard Jackson did was try to go ahead and establish, international airport. At the time, I think Hartsfield only went to like Mexico. So it wasn't really international in the 70s, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, trying to kind of create this facade that we were a lot bigger than we were. And we were creating this facade that we were a lot more inclusive than we were. And we were creating this facade that, people will want to create business and live in Atlanta when in actuality, more people were moving out of Atlanta in droves at that time than really ever before. And so I feel like that 40 plus year string of Black mayors, I think, did a great job as far as our visibility and our really being able to see ourselves in politics. But what I find is that a lot of what happened in the 70s and the fallout from that never really gave us a chance to reckon and atone with a lot of what we went through. Instead of that, we tried to kind of push, this civility mantra. We were a city too busy to hate. We were this world-class city. We were, the Empire City of the South and the Gate City. We were all these things that sounded so grand and large. And a lot of what we know now, and probably what you know and where you get a lot of from your informed, opinion of Atlanta, is based off of that kind of Black safe space that we tried to build in the 90s. So after, the Braves won their first world championship, the next year, Atlanta did the Olympics. And so Atlanta felt larger than life. It was, there were Black people in the marketing, you know what I mean? So we saw ourselves in that space. And I feel like with, that mixed with, really large public events like Freaknik, and then, the largest consortium of historically Black colleges and universities in the world in the AUC. At the time, Morris Brown was really popping. So, it was a different space.
Yeah, we're not even talking about, we haven't even touched on the historical figures or again, this AUC where we went.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, it was a different space that we were allowed to.
It was creating Black excellence.
Yeah, we were allowed to do more than just survive, I think.
That's right.
But what I find is that looking back on that, we kind of inadvertently created a divide, right? And so after integration, right, a lot of the, if you want to call them upwardly mobile Blacks, and there's actually some marketing material my dad sent me about Collier Heights, which is was designed to be a majority Black suburb in Atlanta, where all of the upwardly Black people would go, and the upwardly Black business owners and people who were in trade and stuff like that were to live. what we did was basically create the largest income, disparity and wealth disparity in the city itself. This was a city that, at the time, was majority black, but it decreased like crazy once all those, black people with money, right, left the area. And they left the area, I find, and I have pause with it as well too, um, slightly for the same reason that people live in the metro Atlanta area now. And I find that it was a sign of status back then, when you're kind of consistently criminalized and demeaned for having businesses in metro Atlanta at that time. And then we'll get into that as well too, as far as everything else. But when being in the inner city, after all of these, government projects that basically allowed for the legal kind of destruction of a lot of these city centers, like Sweet Auburn Avenue. It's not a status symbol anymore to have a business there. It's not a status symbol to try to live there anymore. And so all of the people, it was like either you had enough money so you can get out, or you weren't doing well enough, to stay in the spaces that you were anymore. So you had to leave as well too. And so we've seen steadily over the last years, I think in the last 6 years specifically, um, I want to say the black population in Atlanta has dropped from like 61% to like 50%. And so we're barely majority black now in Atlanta. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, and so because of all this kind of like divestment from this area and in the city center itself, and eminent domain and kind of clearing out these spaces, it's so ironic that I live, not too far away from Bankhead, and they've completely changed the name of that,
Bankhead, for those of
to,
y'all that don't know Bankhead, I
to
don't know.
on the
Get
west
real,
side,
get real Atlanta on me, honey.
to down in Lee Hollowell, and the west side is a really historically relevant side of Atlanta, just from all of uh, the entertainers and politicians and stuff like that that were, born, bred, raised on the West Side, and kind of grew up and now own a lot of property here. But it also made a lot of room for basically black people to be snuffed out of the city, and in a good way, in a bad way. I guess it's more about optics, I guess. But I want to say if 2018 or 2019, I think it was, um, the wealth gap was so big. I think like the lowest 20% of residents in Atlanta were making like $9,500 a year, and the highest 20% of residents were making somewhere around like $250,000 a year. And so take that and put that next to only 50% of the population is black, and wealth and income inequality have always directly, disproportionately affected black people specifically, regardless of, the demography of the city. You got a lot of really, really poor black people, and you got a lot of really affluent black people basically living next to each other. And so I think then that turns into a class situation. And I find that a lot of, even in some of our leadership over the past, 40, 45 years or so, um, we've really seen the protection, I think, of what people see as old Atlanta, but then also trying to usher in this idea of new Atlanta as well too. Um, it's difficult because you get into a struggle, right? You get into a struggle of 50 years of black leadership trying to fix racial and systemic inequality, but then also turn Atlanta to a world city. And so something has to give. And so, just like it happens all over the world, right? You got Atlanta being the home of the Centennial Olympics in '96.
Right.
But most of those buildings weren't even repurposed. And so you got Herndon Homes, which was built, I think, as a lacrosse field. My dad actually worked on that for the Olympics. And it's basically a wasteland, I guess is a good place to put it. it's in the heart of the West Side, you know, right next to the
Mm.
AUC. And so you see,
Yeah, let's not get into what the West End much now because I really don't want to cut you off. I really want us to talk a little bit about the West End too, which is
sure,
again very close to the Atlanta University Center. Again, these prominent universities, historically black colleges and
sure,
universities. Um, you have a lot going on in the neighborhood just right next to that. And then I also want to talk a little bit about gentrification, just as a piggyback of what you're saying. And and know how how you're feeling and how maybe other citizens are feeling about this kind of shift
yeah,
in in Atlanta, where we had this kind of safe space and this kind of growing and prominent space for Black people, but now they're changing a little bit, right? So let's get back into that. I only want to cut you off here because we have 57 minutes. We've been here for 57 minutes. We only have 3 more minutes left, and the live will cut us off. So I want to start a new live so that we
okay,
don't get cut off and then we don't interrupt and miss these gems, honey. We not, no, we can't. We're not ready. So if you're okay, RK, then we're gonna cut out now and we're gonna come right back on. Okay.
perfect,
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all of you who are tuning in. Please join us right away. We're going to tune right back in. Our time's out. You know, IG only lets us on here for an hour. We're timed out, but we're going to come right back in and keep talking about the history of Atlanta, the geographical history of Atlanta, and these historic districts, as well as gentrification and the role that systemic racism plays in all this. We're here. We got more. We got to figure out still what's going on in Atlanta with all these curfews and protests we've been hearing about. We need to know from the source. We got to know because we're not in Atlanta. Don't you believe the news all the time? Only some of the time. You better get it from somebody you know, and you know me, and I know somebody. Okay, so we're here, and we're going to talk about that. This episode of the Sedalia and Jai Show is sponsored by Tandem Media. You guys already know Tandem Media is a studio space here in Toronto. For all your studio needs, they have an in-house photographer, in-house makeup artist. You come there for your shoots, for your videos, you name it. They also have branding and marketing services. If Ron was here, he probably will be taking over Tandem Media. I don't know. Okay, but they also offer public relation services, agents like artist management services. So you guys check it out. All right. So I'm gonna let RK go. Thank you, RK. We're gonna be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to let him go so you can see the full flyer. You have it here. You can follow Tandem Media on IG, and here's their website. Please be sure to follow them because, again, uh, as an artist, honey, yeah, they have everything that I need. Exactly. Very good. All right, well, we'll be right back.